What is up, sports fans? Welcome back to another episode of Pez's Picks. If you're watching on YouTube, do us a favor, like, subscribe to the channel. It's our second show this week as we talked about the national championship game in the men's basketball on Monday. We're gearing up for the Masters this weekend. We're going to talk about all that stuff. And if you're listening in audio form on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, just give us a 5-star. It's one tap, but it means a lot, and it does a lot, so we appreciate it. I'm Jeff Hartman. Joining me always is Pez, the man with the picks. What's up, Pez? How's it going?
Well, it's a big week for us, Jeff. Us golf watching fans,
Yes.
Masters. I mean, I'm looking at it, got it on here, green as ever. I mean, it looks like Ireland even better over there.
Yeah.
So big week, tough gambling week. I'm not telling anyone to lay the paycheck on a golf tournament ever, but it could be fun.
Well, if you want to make some money and you get lucky, you can make some money gambling
Certainly
on
can.
golf. This is maybe the only episode that I'm actually going to have some type of inject my own thoughts into this because I am a golfer.
Love
I
it.
am a big follower of the PGA Tour and a professional golf. But let's not put the cart before the horse. Let's talk about the national championship game, which wound up with UConn beating Purdue. They covered the 6-point spread. They pulled 4-0 for us this tournament, Pez. We finished 4-0 with betting UConn, even with some monster spreads early on.
Unbelievable.
And the win finishes the tournament out of 15 games. We went 9-6. How about that?
I mean, love it, Jeff. Anytime you're walking away with extra green in March Madness, you probably got lucky. Who could call that thing?
Yeah.
We're happy. We did ride. I mean, it's like saying people told me last year you took the Lions a lot. Well, of course, they're the best covering team in all of the NFL last season. So why wouldn't we? Same thing for these Huskies. I think it was easy money. They actually had a good game plan. They let the best player in the country probably, in Eddie. They said, we'll let him do his thing, and everyone else is going to have to beat us. And they could not. He had a great game, 37 points. That kid's a beast, and hope he's coming to the NBA. He's going to be fun to watch. But overall, Purdue, the defense of UConn just shut them down. Shooting was bad, leaning very bad. 1 for 7 from 3. The guards got stuffed. Their starters put up a combined 12 points, and that's not going to get it done against the best team in the country. So I think the tournament worked out the way it probably should have. Probably the best two teams were in the finals, and I think the best team and the best coach right now won that game.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And I go back because this wraps up the men's basketball season for us. And we had such a successful football season, not just in college, but in the National Football League. And we were awful early on with college hoops. We were missing every pick possible. And the funny thing is that honestly, we were kind of putting the feelers out there and we were figuring out what's working. There were a ton of upsets early on where number one seeds were getting knocked off by teams that weren't even ranked. But as the tournament came around, we found our footing, we settled in, and I'm pretty proud of the 9-6 record.
Hey, I appreciate it, Jeff. We'll take it. And, college basketball, probably the NBA in the same way, it's a peaks and valleys season. So, I'm trying to figure out how did UConn lose it all this year, right? I mean, that team looks unstoppable. When you look at some of these teams that busted out of the tournament, maybe they weren't that good. If you survive college basketball, then you should be happy. It is a minefield, and I'm getting a little worried about the NBA playoffs, Jeff. I don't know what to do in that, but I guess that's next week.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting going into the NBA, the professional realm. It's a different world. But
yes, sir.
I wanted to ask you, you brought this up at the very tail end of our podcast, which we recorded on Sunday for Monday. The women's basketball tournament was on Sunday. Iowa, South Carolina. South Carolina wins. They go undefeated season. Caitlin Clark and the Iowa Hawkeyes were not able to pull it off. Did you get to watch the game? What were your thoughts?
Watched most of the game, Jeff. I thought it was going to be on at night, and the next thing you know, I'm changing the channel. It's on 3:00 in the afternoon. Well, what's going on here? And then you have 9:20 for the men's game. What is this? I mean, some of us get up early, but I like the afternoon game. It was awesome. She's awesome, and that team in South Carolina, they were great. I mean, I think that game's fun to watch. The shooting seems better. I mean, the outside shooting, because it's not an athletic, just based on speed and power game, and I mean they have that too. But the shooting and the fundamentals are great in women's basketball. It's great.
Well, the thing for me is that I think I saw on, and I don't know if this is true, but I think I saw on Twitter that there were more people watch the women's championship game than the men's. It's
I can,
remarkable.
yeah, well, exciting, and you have probably the greatest, you could argue one maybe the greatest college basketball player ever, right? And
Yeah,
I think clearly the best female shooter and basketball player. So that's awesome.
yeah,
And it's on at a better time. Everybody's watching. I
that's
mean,
true.
it's Sunday. You got West Coast. They're up at noon. I mean, the NFL knows what they're doing, Jeff. I mean, I don't think college basketball does. What the heck? 9:20. I was dead all week, just coming out of it. You get to bed at like 1 o'clock.
Yeah, everyone always caters to the West Coast, but the NFL doesn't, and the NFL does fine. It's not
Exactly.
an issue. So you have a game at 1 o'clock, and if your favorite team, like the 49ers or some West Coast team, is on the East Coast, you get your butt up early and you watch the game at 10.
Give
I
me
don't
a break.
understand.
I don't get it. I don't get it. But
All right, go ahead.
we
Finish up.
we gotta thank those UConn Huskies, Jeff, and Bill
Yeah,
Murray. I'm going to send a shout out. Guy was at the game. Big hug to his son after. I mean, Caddyshack. This is a good theme going into our Masters situation.
it
Got
is.
good golf vibes.
It's a good segue before we talk about the Masters, because that's what's going to be the majority of our conversation today. Is this big sporting event that starts today, Thursday, and goes until Sunday. For those that are not familiar with how major or golf tournaments that aren't live golf work, what's up? What's up next for Pez's picks after this upcoming episode when we talk about golf? What's next? What do you have on the docket?
Well, we were going to try and have some NBA plays this week, Jeff, but all the NBA kind of tensions kind of out. It looks like the Lakers and the Warriors are locks, and you have teams still jockeying for position, but it's tough at the end of the season. My buddy, the Yogi, we talk about a lot. He's got a rule. You don't bet the beginning of the season or the end of the season. Too many variables. So people
Okay.
checking out. So there's a couple games left. We'll be in the NBA playoffs for sure. We'll have some series plays, and we'll have some game plays as well. Start looking at some baseball, of course. I mean, it's cold out there, but the pitching, we'll be taking a look at that. Big thing we'll look for with baseball season is pitching. To me, that's like a quarterback throwing interceptions, how many home runs you're giving up and runs, and we'll be talking about that a lot. And biggest week of the year, Jeff, the Kentucky Derby is not far out too.
That's
So
true. That
I
is
mean,
true. Now,
you get
a couple questions to clip for clarifying. With baseball, do you tend to ever go into like more of a total than you do just straight up wins? Or if you're talking about potential point spreads or run spreads, if you want to put it that way, do you tailor your bets any different with baseball compared to a sport like basketball or football?
I do like totals in baseball more than basketball and football. Some pitchers give up runs, and it doesn't mean their team's going to lose, but they give up some runs. And like Tim Wakefield, I think about my buddies and I used to love betting on that guy, the classic knuckleball pitcher.
Yep.
He gave up runs, but there was a theory his team hit better because they're always having action in the field. So there's a lot of crazy, whether or not they're true, but crazy theories and betting gimmicks for baseball. We're going to be talking
Yeah.
about a lot, Jeff. I hope they work. Sometimes maybe Tim Wakefield comes back. We'll take the over in that guy every game.
My gosh, he's dead.
Oh, that's true. Oh my God, I forgot about that. Oh, that's
He
sad.
passed away from
That's
cancer.
sad. Oh, that's right. No, I remember reading that. I believe his wife did too,
His
right?
wife died 5 months after, and
No,
that's
I
a
feel
horrible
horrible,
story.
Jeff.
Yeah, you should.
Horrible.
And
Well, we're giving him props. We're giving him some good vibes.
yeah, for
Thank you, Tim.
sure.
That was a great
Gosh,
pitcher.
his kids were at Fenway, the home opener for the Red Sox, and threw out the first pitch. Gosh, I don't think there was a dry eye in the freaking stadium. It was horrible.
Yeah, that's rough.
It was a good scene though, and but nonetheless, no, you're great. Now let me ask you about the horses. So you bring up the Kentucky Derby. Do you like to bet on all four legs of or all legs of the Triple Crown, or do you just like to you focus on the Derby itself?
I mean, I've been to all the legs, Jeff. They're all great. We're gonna have some good stories. Some good and bad stories, entertainment and gambling. You got to bet on all three, Jeff. You have to. You're not a gambler if you're not betting on that. Not much else going on that time of year either. I
Yeah.
mean, you got May baseball, and so, but yeah, we'll be betting on it. Betting on the Masters kind of like betting on the Derby. You occasionally get the long shot, then you got to pick the best 5 or 6 horses, and you roll the dice. I mean, that's kind of what it is. That's why it's fun.
Yeah. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. The legs in order are Kentucky first, right?
Correct.
Then the Preakness in
Yep.
Baltimore,
Yep.
and then you finish up. What it's in New York, isn't it?
The Belmont.
The Belmont. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. I've
We'll
hit
be. Well,
I've hit a Belmont at the Belmont and a Derby at the Derby, but the Preakness, no shot. No. But
I've only. Go ahead.
hit War Emblem, I believe in 2002 at the Derby, Jeff. I think he was at 49-1. I laid 10 on the biggest five underdogs or dogs, and I hit $490, and I realized I was like the only guy in the crowd yelling, so I had to get out of there quickly. It's
All
terrifying.
right. I bet. Let's talk about golf. Let's get into my wheelhouse here. I'm not a horse bettor. We're talking about the Masters Golf Tournament, which starts up in Augusta, Georgia, Augusta National, and this is a tough tournament to bet, mainly because it's a major, but not because it's a major, because there's all these questionable factors. And I'm not even talking about the weather. You'll bring up the weather here in a second, Pez. But you have these damn live golfers coming in, and you have no idea what to expect from Brooks Koepka, from John Rahm even. They're only playing 54 holes in their tournaments. They're not playing as much. We have no idea how to gauge. Are they playing well? Are they not? This is a tough tournament. What do you think, just off the top of your head, about the field?
Well, that's the biggest variable. I think it's hurting the PGA guys even worse right now. The PGA guys are wilting except for Scheffler.
Yeah.
It's been an emotional just crush for those guys. So, we were talking about it on your podcast, the Fairways and Dreams, and I think maybe you're over under on top 10. I might have to adjust my answer. I talked about earlier in the week. PGA stinks right now. What's
I
going
know.
on with that tour?
Yeah.
I think Kepka, playing on live, even if he didn't play anywhere, I think this guy's going to win more majors. And he's one of him and Tiger, probably the only guys, maybe Jack, who did it a couple times too, who don't have to play a lot and can go and put up the greatest A game that they and anybody in the world could have. So
Yeah.
I think that's fine. I don't think Rahm, I can't see him going through all the emotion he went through and winning this tournament. He seemed a little tired in his presser yesterday. I watched it, and the, the guy seemed emotional, a little confused. I know he didn't want to leave the tour. I know he feels guilty, and he's from what I've read, John Rahm's a good guy. He was emotional about leaving and a friend of a lot of these guys. So I count him out. Koepka said it best, and we were talking about on your podcast. Every major, probably half the guys can't win.
Yeah.
There's special entries. You got older guys because they're past champions, and you got guys that have never been there. Which I think 1979. I think the last guy won in his first event. I think Masters, something like that. So I don't count any of those guys as happening. But now we were talking about before we came on. Going to be wet Thursday, possibly Friday. That changes everything. And then it's going to be dry and hot Saturday and Sunday. It's going to be like two courses.
Yeah.
The guys that might have won in a really hard course, like a dry hard greens where you got to be playing shots and not just dropping wedges and spinning them. I don't know if they can win this tournament. They might not make the cut, right? So, well, man, it's throwing us a little monkey wrench here, and I don't know. I like our picks. We're going to go with Jeff. I still like
Okay.
them.
So, we'll talk about our picks. And by the way, for those that are listening that might not have heard my Fairways and Dreams podcast, where Pez was kind enough to join me on Tuesday, I asked him at the very end if he had to take over under 2.5 of live golfers that finish in the top 10. He said he would take the under. I said top 23.5. He said, I think you said under on that as well. I said over on both.
I did, Jeff. And after we hung up, I started thinking about that list and thought, oh man, maybe I'm in trouble on that answer. I'm a little sad for the PGA.
Yeah.
I think Hideki, is a guy. Unfortunately, it seems like the guys that might make the jump are still playing well in the PGA. I wonder if Rory's making that jump. He seems confused out there. The rumors are still lurking.
Yeah. Well, and hey, here's a question with the rain. This is an interesting bet. These tournament specials, it doesn't matter the sports book you use. I looked at FanDuel Sportsbook, that's just what I have on my phone and what I access the most. You can bet on the cut line. So
Oh yeah.
3 over or better, or 4 over or worse. with the rain, that's an interesting bet there. That's an interesting bet as to what the cut line will be. I'm not sure which way I would lean.
The course plays easier when it's wet. You
Unless
can
it's a
stick.
downpour.
They'll probably pull them then, right? And they've
Yeah.
got the greens in that the aerification system. So
Oh, yeah.
they're not super soft, but they're not when the course is playing as hard as that course can play. So I think it opens the door up a little bit more for a Kepka, maybe even a DJ now might not be a bad play. I still don't like Rory and wet greens. That guy spins the ball way too much, and I don't think he knows how not to at this point. But I think for Phil Mickelson, wet is awesome, and that
Yeah.
guy he can play a super hard course, but if he knows he can spin every wedge, and the thing in the Masters in every one of these holes, there's places if you miss, you're guaranteed a bogey. That's it. Yeah, they're all off the
Right.
fairway or rolling off the back of the green. So if they know those balls are sticking and they can spin them, I think Phil is going to be in play, and that's maybe a good long shot to throw in there to make the cut,
Yeah.
possibly top 10 or 20 too.
Well, and not to mention a soft course, rain-soaked course. Let's also not forget it. It impacts the course outside the fairway, outside of the greens. It's
Sure.
also you're not going to get a lot of roll. So the long hitters are
Yep.
now all of a sudden going to have a huge advantage. So now you talk about your Bryson DeChambeau who can
Oh yeah.
pound the ball. If he can keep it in play, the dude has enough game with soft greens and the length. Phil can still hit it a good ways. Dustin Johnson, you're talking about your Brooks Koepkas. All these guys can still hit the ball a really long way, distance off the tee, and accuracy is going to be really, really important. But let's get to your picks here. Who do you like? I know that we were talking before we hit record, and you said you were kind of bouncing around a couple ideas. Let's go with who your favorites are, and I'll give you mine.
Well, Jeff, we talked about it. The things we're looking for, the guys that are like what we call the best shot makers, the best iron players in the world, in the golf world. Uh, Guys that can hit greens is what we talked about. Short game, a little bit of just kind of magic out there, and I I think Brooks Koepka probably right now with these conditions we got to put as our favorite for Pez's pick. We're not getting our best odds on him, but plus 1,800 to win the tournament. I love him in this situation. He seems like a little bit happier, and a little bit like he's back to normal. It seems like
Yeah.
so. He's gone. No, it's not that big of a controversy this year for these guys. So I don't think it's going to affect them as much. Going to pound those fairways, and you're right about Shambo too. I mean, similar player when their wedges are hot, and they're going to win these tournaments. And for the first 2 days, it'll be interesting to see how dry things get if it doesn't rain Friday, Saturday, Sunday too. So, but love Koepka to win. We're going to go Sahith Theegala to win. Another guy that's had a really good season so far. Great short game, can hit every shot. Creative guy. He's in great form. He hasn't really figured out how to close, but he's been in a lot of situations where he can win tournaments. And the Masters are where kind of magic things happen. Plus 6,000 to win. I love that guy. I think he's going to be a Masters or a British Open champion at someday. He's just got that kind of short game that wins those. And another veteran guy, Jason Day, to win, plus 7,000. Unbelievable odds there. So plus 7,000, you put $10 on him if he wins, that's $700. That's not bad on Jason Day, former major winner.
Yeah.
I love that bet actually. He's playing great. He's had a great season. I think he's top 10, and he might be the highest data ranked guy that hasn't won this season or within those top few guys. So love him in this situation, and another guy with a magic short game.
Yeah. So my favorites in the best odds, like Scotty Scheffler plus 400. I mean, maybe you're going to parlay something, but even just an outright winner, like Scotty Scheffler is playing really good golf. I mean, the
All
dude
right.
has won 2 tournaments, could have won 3 in a row before taking a week off before the Masters. If there's someone that's playing their best golf right now, it's Scotty Scheffler. So that's not a bad
Absolutely.
bet. That's not a bad bet. But if we want to go with the longer odds, I'll say it. Give me Rambo, John Rahm at plus 1,100. And he's going to have the game. He has been playing well on Live. He has a lot to prove. He wants to prove that he can still win. And so I would say that's not a bad bet. Here's another one. Much longer odds, plus 4,000. Wyndham Clark. I like Wyndham Clark. I think he's healthy. go back to the players. He was a lip out away from having a playoff with Scotty Scheffler. Little known fact, his caddy was on one of our Golfer Gang podcasts, and he said he's hitting the ball great right now. So
Wow.
I like Wyndham Clark plus 4,000. Want some longer odds? I got you there. Shane Lowry plus 5,500. There's something about that guy's game that I could see him hanging around. You want a villain? This guy, everyone's bashing him. They're calling him fat and chubby, and they say he's a cheater. That's what you said. Patrick Reed is plus 8,000. He's plus 8,000. He's won this tournament before. The guy has a ton of game. And so if he's hot, he could win. But the last one, you want to make some money, Pez. Phil Mickelson, one last run. He's plus 27,000 to win.
I mean, how could you not take that? Really? I mean,
know.
the guy put up he put up a round that you win the tournament with last year on Sunday, and that guy. I like him better in the wet conditions first couple of days. I think it doesn't help with Tiger Woods. I think it doesn't help any of the older guys, or I think Jordan Spieth, even in that kind of condition, it doesn't help him, even though he's won a British Open in damp conditions. But you're right. They're not going to get as much run out. Those guys are dependent on making shots, and, that sticking – they're like throwing lawn darts, some of those guys. They're going to be hitting at 380. Chef and those guys are going to have 80 yards in that sand wedge or lob wedge. And, I mean, it's going to be even more fun. I hope we get a lot of birdies. It'd be great.
Yeah.
So we do have some top 20 though, Jeff. We're going to keep Tiger Woods in there just because I've talked about Tiger's a big fan of Pez's picks, Jeff, and shout out to my guy. Trying to get him on here one day, and the guy's yoked, Jeff. I keep telling you, I don't mess with that Tiger Woods. Freddie Couples said it yesterday that Tiger has not missed a shot in any practice round. So, if he can get through Thursday, Friday, make the cut, and it's only within 3 shots or so. I don't see how we can't put him into play and win, especially with how bad the PGA is right now. I think if this was 5 years ago, Tiger, he probably isn't even making cuts. But I don't think he's much further back than some of these PGA guys, to be quite honest with you, if he's healthy.
That's a big if. That's a really big if, because I listened to his press conference as well on Tuesday, and he was very honest. But when they asked him about obviously his withdrawal at the Riviera in the LA Open, they're like, well, what happened? He goes, my body wasn't ready. Like, what do you mean it wasn't ready? What are you doing? Like, you say you're yoked, right? And he is. He's a muscular guy.
Oh, yeah.
He said he wasn't ready to walk. Like, who can't go walk? Go walk. What are we doing? What are we talking about? Like, I can't stand it. So I'll tell you, I'll give you some specials. Let's go down the specials road.
Okay.
You want plus 245 to make the cut. Freddie Couples just to make the cut, plus 245. Now the rain scares me in this one. That scares me.
He can stick wedges though, that guy, right? I mean, that guy can still hit a pretty high ball. I watched him on that Champions Tour. When the back's healthy, he's still got, I mean, he's got a little pop in the bat still too. So I don't know. I think with the rain, it actually could help maybe a guy like that. He's not super spinning the ball like Tiger or Spieth or JT are going to be. And I don't even know who's Tiger's caddy this week. I wonder.
I don't know who. It's the same guy who was caddying him earlier in the season.
Okay,
I don't know his name, but
JT picked up another player's ex caddy. I just saw today. I can't remember who it was.
I'm sure that'll make a difference. All right. What else do you have?
20? I got another journeyman top 20. Zach Johnson plus 700.
Okay. I can see it.
The wet conditions scare me a little because he doesn't have pop in the bat anymore, but he knows the courses. He's got a jacket. If anybody's got a jacket's got a chance. Especially under 50. We were talking. We were coming on the air. The FanDuel has a interesting prop bet.
Is this the Tiger?
Tiger Woods to be par or better after first 3 holes of round 1 is now plus 100, which came down from minus 170. So we talked before we came on. A little bit of a scary vibe there. I don't know if he's limping or what.
Yeah.
Is this DJ falling down the steps again? All right. Is there a fire truck waiting for Tiger? I don't know. but I
Yeah.
say we take that, Jeff.
I'm not
Plus,
now.
well, number ones, if they get by one if he gets a par on one, which is a tough hole, it's a quirky. If you hit it right or into that trap up the right fairway, that's a bogey. The green's weird. You go over the green or you're below it, you're probably bogeying. Two's an easy par five. I think he only plays like 570 or 580. So, Tigger can still get it out there. He puts it in the fairway. We're looking at eagle or birdie. And it's a short par four on a three. It's under 400 yards, I know. So I like that play. I think the guy, if he's going to play well, it's probably going to be in the beginning, right? Until the oil runs out of the old metal joints there.
I fell for that bet when he played at Riviera. It was a
Oh yeah,
bogey-free front nine. He birdies one because one was always his bugaboo. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, here we go. I'm going to
that's
get
it.
through this with a bogey-free front nine. And then he has like a double on number two. I'm like, you know what? Screw that guy. I'll say it right now. I'm not touching Tiger Woods, any of his odds with your money, Pez. I'm not even
That's
touching it
true.
with your money.
That's true.
So
I
it's
can't
just
blame you.
not for me. It's just
Can't
not for
blame
me.
you.
I'll
I
give you
do.
a couple. I'll give you a couple here before we go back to you. Top 10, including ties. Hey, you think Scotty Scheffler's going to win? You think Rory's going to play well? If they're in the top 10, plus 220. Not great odds, but you want to do another top 10. I like this one a lot, and it's plus 800. Hideki Matsuyama and Jordan Spieth finishing in the top 10. I think Spieth's going to play well, even though he said he aggravated his wrist playing in, I guess it was the Valero last weekend. So, yeah, there you go. There's some top 10s. What else do you have?
I like them, Jeff, and I like Spieth. The wrist thing does scare me, but he Patrick Reed, even DJ Kepka, Rahm. I mean, these are guys that have dominated the course for the last 7 or 8 years, and Rory's had some great numbers here, and it'd be nice to see him come out, but his game just doesn't look sharp. But
Yeah.
it's another guy can win every major. He should win every week. But at the end of the day, Scheffler should win this tournament and is playing arguably as good a golf as anyone's played, especially. I mean, him and Tiger Woods have very similar numbers when Tiger was winning everything, except in putting. Where if Scotty was putting average, he'd be winning every week by like 3 or 4 shots. So, and he loves this tournament. And I mean, but I can't argue that he's not going to win.
Right. All right. I have two questions for you to finish up. These are actual special bets from FanDuel that I'm just curious on what you think. And these are interesting bets. So here we go. The winner. It's Live versus the field. Live is plus 280. The field is minus 390. What are you taking? Live versus the field.
Wow, that's a tough one. So we got Scotty Scheffler against the entire Live. Wow, that's tough, Jeff. Because Morikawa seems to be letting me down. The guy looks horrible in the par three that has been going on today. Oh man, that's a tough one.
That's a tough one. You can think about it.
Man, I don't know if I can bet the Live. I mean, I just feel like I'm betting traders. But
So you go with the field minus
in terms of
390.
in terms of gambling, we're gonna have to go with the more solid bet. We'll go Live, Jeff.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Now, what about this next one? The big guns. Big guns are Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, John Rahm, and Xander Schauffele. One of those four players plus 158 versus the field minus 215.
I'll take that bet, Jeff. I'll take those guys at plus numbers, right? I mean, that's a
So
solid
take the
bet.
big guns. You'll take the big guns.
Well, if you look at it this way, if you were going to take any of those guys and say you're going to put, a couple $100 each or 100 each or even $20 each, you could just make that one bet and get better odds and,
Sure.
and get, about half the odds. So half the risk too. I like it. I like that play.
I mean, shoot, get Legs involved in a couple parlays here and you could have some action.
Jeff Legs was in Jamaica last week, believe it or not, and the guy came back and he's got a handlebar mustache going. The guy's living the dream. I never seen a broke lifeguard have such a good life, and he's ready. He's ready. He was asking today, who do I bet on the Masters? And I don't know. I mean, we're gonna have to help him out. The guy needs to eat.
Well, you got to tell him listen to Pez's picks, and
he
he'll have
listens.
some
Jeff.
bets.
This is it. He's probably getting his own podcast out of this. So I mean, the guy's turning famous over it in his town.
There you go.
But we're gonna help him out, and I can't wait, Jeff. I think Kepka, and if he is healthy and he appears to be, I still think he wins the tournament. And I don't think Scheffler. You can count on that putting, especially at this course. I mean, I'm going to bet against Scheffler's putting and bet for Koepka, who probably is as good a player. If he was on the PGA, he'd probably be the one competing with him every week.
Yeah. Keep in mind, gamblers out there, since this is a gambling podcast, the live in round betting is also a way to make yourself some money if you want to dive
Sure.
into that route. If you want to wait till after the cut's made, you got who's in contention. All right, you can go in, you can bet on maybe the guy who's sitting at number 3, and can he find his way to the front, and you can win some money that way. So golf is a unique gambling experience. We'll put it that way.
Well, and that's a great point, Jeff. Every day you can bet matchups on certain
Yeah.
sites where they're going to put two guys together. It's a match play bet, which I love. I actually like that the tournament, but the tournament's fun. You got to have it. You got to bet a winner of the Kentucky Derby. So I like your analysis too of once you get to the weekend. I would bet against young guys if it's wet Thursday, Friday, and you get an Aberg or you get some of these young guys that never been there, even a Wyndham Clark, and they're throwing lawn darts, sticking in a little bit wet green. I would look to bet against them Saturday, Sunday when it's going to be a drastic condition change. When that sun's out on that course, they have, I think it's top secret, right, Jeff? They have some drying system in their green. That place is it's like a Caddyshack, like fake course. And those greens are going to be rock solid Saturday, Sunday. The Masters does not allow their course to get shamed. They're not going to have a minus 25 winner. So I would look to make a drastic move against all young guys and rookie players who play well Thursday, Friday if it's wet, if it is dry and sunny Saturday, Sunday. And I think that's a good policy to making money.
There you go. All right. What's your final thoughts? It's going to be a great weekend of golf. I'm excited for it.
Okay.
What's your final thoughts?
Well, Jeff, we've got a bonus bet, our first
nice.
NFL bet of the year, Jeff.
NFL.
We are taking the Philadelphia Eagles in Brazil, first game of the year against the Green Bay Packers, aka turnover machine and no running game Packers. My estimate is Birds laying 4, Jeff, in on the road in Brazil. Okay. The first Brazilian game ever.
Yeah, it's a Friday night game.
Eagles, they've got a fun team, so they're going to enjoy themselves. Green Bay, I don't know, they don't seem as fun, Jeff. Big believer in that week 1 Saquon, going to be running it left and right, and new coordinator, new offense. So Philadelphia Eagles, Jeff. Let's put that down as our first NFL bet.
There you go. All right, Pez, good stuff. I know you're going to enjoy the Masters. I know I will too. We'll be back next week to talk all things recapping this golf tournament and getting you geared up for the NBA playoffs and more right here on Pez's Picks. Pez, thanks for your time, man. Take it easy.
See you, Jeff.